Hey scholars, it's Miss Marnon. So in the last lesson you looked about checking tables to see if they're proportional. So in this lesson we're just going to kind of practice that and some other problems with proportional tables. So our objective today is I can solve problems about proportional tables. So for our DIN review question, what are you checking to determine if a table represents a proportional relationship? So you can look back at your notes, pause this video, and put my 3 favorite words for this review question. Okay, so if you already went and you filled this in, you should have been looking for a constant unit rate. My 3 favorite words. So anytime we're looking for something to be proportional, we're looking for a constant unit rate. So for our preview question, we have Miss Marnon is comparing the cost of daycare for Bender. For which daycare is the relationship between the days spent at daycare and the cost proportional? So pause the video. Put in a unit rate column on both of these tables, so put a K, and then find the unit rate. Okay, so you should have already calculated the unit rates for all of these daycare. So we have the dog lodge and we have Canine Clubhouse. So if I were to divide this out, we're going to have this be my X, this be my Y, this be my X, this be my Y. We know that K, or unit rate, is equal to Y divided by X. So we're going to take each Y and divide it by X. So if we do 28 divided by 1, we get 28. 52 divided by 2 is 26. And 75 divided by 3 is 25. So if I pay for 3 days at the dog lodge, each day is going to cost me $25. If I do 2 days at the dog lodge, each day is going to cost me 26. And if I do 1 day, each day only costs 28. So now let's check Canine Clubhouse. If we do 25 divided by 1, we get 25. 50 divided by 2 is 25. And 75 divided by 3 is 25. So we're looking for a constant unit rate, and that's at the Canine Clubhouse. So no matter how many days that Bender goes to this daycare, we're going to spend $25 for each day. So our question was, for which daycare is the relationship between the days spent and cost proportional? So we're going to come in here, we're going to type it in. Canine Clubhouse is the daycare where the relationship between the number of days and cost is proportional. So again, that just means no matter how many days Bender stays at this daycare, it's going to be $25 per day. So we have some new vocabulary. So the one I highlighted, it's the most important. Constant of proportionality. It's going to have the same value as the unit rate. Whenever we say constant of proportionality, it's the same as unit rate. It's a number that can be multiplied to all X values to get all Y values in a proportional relationship. So what we're saying is, if I look at this one again from the Canine Clubhouse, so let me get my pen out. We had X and we had Y. So we had 1, 2, 3, and 25, 50, 75. So this constant proportionality, which we also use K to represent it, it's the same as unit rate. It's saying that I can multiply every X by that number to get the Y. So if I do 2 times 25, I get 50, 3 times 25, 75. So if I wanted to know for 10 days at the daycare, I can multiply that by 25 and it will cost me $250 to send Bender for 10 days. So knowing that we have this constant of proportionality that we can multiply all X values by is going to help us in our next few problems. So in our next problem, we have Richard, and he's planning to drive from New York to Florida. Every time Richard stops for gas, he records the distance he traveled in miles and the total number of gallons he used. So this is something some people actually do with their cars. They keep a little notebook in the glove box and they're trying to figure out how many miles per gallon their car gets all the time. So here we have gallons consumed and miles driven. It wants to know what is the constant in proportionality for this table, and you need to complete this table. So pause the video, see if you can complete the table first. Okay, so we need to complete this table. So we have 2 gallons is 54 miles. So now we need to figure out what 4 gallons would be. We've done it before where we can actually scale this up. So this is our X. I can scale it up. If this is times 2, we can scale up our 54 times 2 as well. So I'm going to open up my Desmos calculator and we're going to type in 54. Hold on. 54 times 2, we get 108. So after 4 gallons, it's 108 miles driven. So we can scale this up and determine what these all are. But if we can determine what this constant of proportionality is, it's going to be a lot easier to figure out for 10 gallons and 12 gallons. So to figure out the constant proportionality, which we're representing as K, it's Y divided by X. So this table is already a proportional table. It's proportional, so we know that the unit rate is going to be the same. So we just have to pick one row that we want to use, and we can find the unit rate. So you can either use this 2 and 54, or you can use this 8 and 216. We can find that K, that unit rate, that constant proportionality, and we can use it next to the table. So it doesn't matter which one you pick. I'm going to do 54 and 2 just because they seem like easier numbers. So if this is my X and this is my Y, I'm going to do 54 divided by 2. So I do 54 divided by 2. Check it on our calculator, make sure we're always getting the right numbers. So 54 divided by 2, we get 27. So that's going to be 27 miles per gallon, or MPG. You might see it abbreviated. So now that we know what our constant proportionality, that K, is, I can come back to this table and every X I can multiply, and we can check if you do 4 times 27, do we get 108? So let's check on our calculator. If I do 4 times 27, we do get 108. So this method is going to work. So now we need to do 10 times 27. We got 270, and 12 times 27, 324. So all I did is I multiplied the X's by 27, and I got 270 and 384. I want to say, let's just double check looking at my calculator. 24, that's why I checked. Always got to be careful that we're checking our calculator before we write something down. Make sure we throw it in right. So that's how we can use the constant proportionality to fill in all these missing Y values. But if we have a missing X value, we got to do something a little different. If it's multiplying from X to get to Y by 27, to get back to X, we need to do the opposite. We can divide by 27. So to get this missing X value, we need to actually go the opposite and divide. So we need to do 186 divided by 27. And we got this 6.8 repeating. If you wanted it as a fraction, you could write 62/9. I'm going to write it as 6.8 repeating, and I'm going to show that the 8 is repeating with a line over it. So 6.8 repeating goes in this box. So that's the first one. So we filled in all the boxes. We found the constant proportionality. Let's move on to number 2. The table below represents the relationship of the amount of snowfall in 5 counties to the amount of time in a snowstorm. So maybe one of these is Onondaga County, one of these is Oswego County. any nearby counties or any far counties, doesn't matter, they don't say, but each one of these rows represents a county. So we have 3 questions on this. So why don't you pause the video, see if you can answer all 3 questions. Okay, so you should have solved all 3 questions, and now we're going to go over it to make sure your answers are right. So the first question is, what does 2, 10 mean in this problem? So they're talking about this row right here. So what does it mean in this problem? Well, it means in one county, right? Because each row represents a county. The 2 is 2 hours and the 10 is snowfall in inches. So that means after 2 hours, there was 10 inches of snowfall. Does hours per inch or inches per hour make more sense? So you could calculate both. You could determine how many hours it takes to snow 1 inch, or you could determine how many inches you get in 1 hour. Normally, we like to do per and then some unit of time, right? We do miles per hour, meters per second. So normally we're going to want to do things like inches per hour to make the most sense. It'll tell us how many inches it snows in 1 hour. Our last question, is the table proportional? If so, what is the constant of proportionality? So that means we need to go back and to find all those K values again. So if I put unit rate K here, we're going to need to do 10 divided by 2. We said we want to do inches per hour. So that means this is my X and this is my Y. We need to do 5 divided by 2.5. 12 divided by 6, 14 divided by 7, and 16 divided by 8. So if you do these on a calculator or in your head, we get 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 divided by 2.5 is 2. 12 divided by 6 is 2. 14 divided by 7 is 2. 16 divided by 8 is 2. So already I'm seeing that we do not have a constant unit rate. We got a 5 and then the rest are all 2s. So when we go to answer, is this proportional? Our answer is no. We don't have a constant unit rate. So no, it is not proportional. There is not a constant unit rate. There is also no constant of proportionality. Constant of proportionality. So it's not proportional, so we don't have a constant of proportionality. There's not one number that I can multiply everything in the X column by to get everything in the Y column. So we looked at 2 examples, one that was proportional, we were able to complete it, find all the missing values, list what the constant of proportionality is. This one, we looked at what each thing might mean on the table, and then we calculated the unit rate, determined it's not proportional, so there's no constant of proportionality. Now you have some practice problems. So we have Azela, who's typing at 42 words per minute. We have a couple of questions about that. And then we have Jakayla having a pizza party. So she's buying pizzas and she's buying chicken wings. And you're going to need to use this information to complete the table and decide if one or both or neither of these are proportional. When you're done with the practice problems, you then have an exit ticket where you're creating the table and explaining why it's proportional. So I'm telling you it is proportional. Complete the table. Why is it proportional? When you're all done with your practice and your exit ticket, those are the parts that are graded. So making sure those get done. You're going to go back into Canvas and click the Mark as Done button at the top of the page.